All right. Welcome, Crystal.
Hello. Hello, Sarah. Nice to be with you.
It's really good to have you here. And we were just talking before we hit record that it's taken us a little while to schedule this and to get here, but here we are, and I'm so glad.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Seems like we're both so busy, huh? That's a lot
Yeah,
going on in this
yeah,
season.
for
Yeah.
sure. And Crystal, we always start these conversations with a personal check-in. So I'd love for
hmm
you to share with us just where you're joining us from and how you're doing in this moment at the levels of body, heart, and mind.
Yeah. So I am checking in from Spotsylvania, Virginia, and where I'm at home in my home office. I still have my office, but I really haven't been there since the pandemic started, and I plan to close it and go full-time telehealth. I really love the grounding question of how are you doing? um, Mind, body, and spirit or heart. And it just feels really grounding to me because I'm noticing parts of myself that are um, preparing for my sabbatical. I'm taking a sabbatical this summer, and parts that are really busy trying to tie up a lot of loose ends. And so noticing that and yeah, and just even as I notice it in my heart space, my heart has been rapid because I feel like I'm trying to tie up all of the things. But I also have this part of me that's really anticipating that rest and um, just free time to do whatever I want, and just really looking forward to being with my family in that time. So those parts are like, come on, let's hurry up and get there. Let's get there because I can just sense it. I can just taste it. So just noticing all of that, and then parts that are just really trying to be present in this moment and like take a deep breath into this space. Yeah. So that all of that's there.
Hmm. I'm a big fan of sabbaticals, and I'd love to
Oh,
hear more about this. Like, when does it start? How long is it? What's your intention for this time?
oh. So I just realized that these last 2 years have been really, really hard, not just on me, but the clients I work with, other therapists as well. And I just found myself saying I'm tired all of the time. And the idea just popped up in my mind. I think Spirit gave it to me and just said, you need a break, but you need to do it in a different way. A weekend is not going to do, a week away is not going to do. You need to do something revolutionary. And I just kept saying, I think I'm going to take my summer off. It started, I think I'm going to take my summer off. And I just kept repeating it. And the think came off to I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I started putting plans in place. And it felt like I had to keep saying it so my mind could catch up with my mind, right, and align with everything else. And I'm I'm doing it. I was telling people about it, and I am taking from June through August off, and I just need that time to slow down, um, recalibrate, spend time with my kids. They're going to be home for the summer, and I just want to be with them. I just want to be. I just want to get up one day and say, let's go to the beach, or just get up one day and not do anything. I want to have the choice on how I use my time, right? And I just feel like these last 2 years, we've seen a lot of death. We've seen a lot of, a lot of stuff. And I just want to slow down and just really focus on what's important. And I think for all that hard work I did for these last 2 years, right, I want to experience some of the fruits of that. And so I also have plans some travel time. I'm going to visit about 4 countries in Africa that I'm really excited about all of July, you know. And then in August, I'm just going to be home for my travel. So I'm looking forward to just being adventurous and playful.
That sounds really wonderful and really inspiring.
Yeah,
Curious, which countries are you going to in Africa?
yeah. I'm going to Egypt. I'm going to Tanzania, Kenya, and Ghana.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Some of those places I'm going with friends, and in Egypt, my husband and I are celebrating 20 years together, and so we're going to celebrate in Egypt this year.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent my junior year of college abroad in Ghana at the University of Ghana at Accra. And so it just holds a special place in my heart. And I would just
Yeah.
love to go back.
Mm-hmm. This will be my first time there, so I'm so excited. It's a place I've always wanted to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
How
was
long did you
like,
stay?
I was there for about 6 months and then did some traveling up the coast of West Africa, up to Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
And it was life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I'm in this space where I want to return to traveling. Like one of my first loves is traveling, and so I'm ready to return to that. You know.
I hear that. I share that love with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so how many kids do you have and how old are they?
I have 3 kids. They're 16, 14, and 11. Next year, my oldest will be a senior in high school, and I'm just sitting here like, where did all that time go? Like they're moving. I can feel the shift, you know, with my 2 high schoolers. I can feel the shift. My little one is still my little one. He's 11,
Yeah.
but the 2 high school, there's parts of me that feel like they're getting ready to leave. Like, and that might not be true, but that's what these parts feel, right? Like they're growing up, they're getting ready to leave. I don't have much time with them. That's how I feel
Mhm.
as they're growing. Yeah.
Yeah. And how great that you'll get to just spend more time this summer, just enjoying with them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to, you know, we've had so many good family memories together, and I just working from home, when they're home, it feels like if I'm home, they should have access to me. So that's been a transition with working from home. And I just don't want them to see me just working all of the time, you know. They don't, but it's just been different as I've transitioned from the office to here. They see me working, right? Versus me
Yeah.
being in the office and away. And then when I come home, I'm mom, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I just want to break that up a little bit.
And speaking of just the challenges of the past couple of years, one of the questions I've been asking guests during this time is like, what has been most resourcing for you? And I know that's probably changed during different phases of the pandemic and all the other challenges that have arisen, but either right now, currently, what's most resourcing for you, or just what has been a through line throughout this time?
Yeah. But I lived in this really like I feel like we're enclosed by like woods, right? And so nature has really been really grounding and resourcing for me. Just like as I'm talking to you, like I'm facing my window and it's just woods everywhere, right? So that's been grounding for me. Being in community with other women has really been grounding for me. During the pandemic, I started a program where, well, myself and a good friend of mine who's a yoga instructor, we started just a community of women, of BIPOC women, to come and do yoga in my yard, and just having those connections and feeling the strength of community. Because I think it can be kind of isolating. It has been kind of isolating during this time, and so kind of reconnecting to community and developing community and having it out here in this space and being in nature has been really resourcing, as well as the love of my family, and close friends. Like I've really kind of leaned into those spaces.
Great. And Crystal, I first learned about you through the IFS continuity program.
Yeah.
And you came on with Chris Burris, who I told you I just interviewed prior to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you all did a demo of a session modeling Chris as the white male therapist and you as a female Black client, and just what that could bring up in a session. And I was just struck by the vulnerability, the honesty, the courage in both of you. And I'm wondering what that was like for you.
I think, well, I'm just kind of laughing because I'm thinking anytime you do an IFS demo, right, it might start off as a demo. I'm always prepared for things to get real, like there are
It's
so
like they
many
can't
parts.
not get real.
I can be starting talking about ice cream and it can go to some deep, deep place in me that I just didn't expect. But I think that demo hit some real places in me about wanting to be understood, trust, and just letting someone into my world just all the things that come up when you're letting someone into your world who you fear might not get it, or letting someone into your world who you fear may hurt you, right? Or may hurt you because they don't get it. So like all of that was coming up in me while still trying to be really present. And lucky for me, I have a good relationship with Chris, and so I trust him, but I was noticing what it must be like if that was a real situation. So yeah, and I think I'm so grateful for IFS because it lends to that vulnerability. Like when I'm in IFS communities, my parts are just like, this is a place where you can be vulnerable and that's okay. So my parts feel more and more comfortable like doing that and being open. And I feel like I have more permission to be myself, yeah, I feel like I can bring all of me to a space no matter what that looks like.
Yeah, I feel the same about the IFS community. It's such a beautiful community in that way. And just the real permission, acceptance, allowance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't found a community like this one elsewhere. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. And I think that's like, to me, that's an incentive of keeping that connection in the IFS community. It's because I feel like people speak the same language, and then when I'm outside of that, I constantly refer to my parts. And sometimes, not everybody gets that. No, not everybody's doing that kind of work. So it just I feel like I'm at home when I'm in IFS community because we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with IFS, and when and how and why?
So my start in IFS was through a really good friend of mine. She was doing her own work, and I continued just to listen to some of the life-changing moments she had and some of the transitions that she was experiencing. And I was kind of just in that with her, just watching and just experiencing that with her. And she didn't know what it was called at the time. And she later told me that she found out that the modality that her therapist was using was called IFS. And so when she shared that with me, I felt like that kind of led me down this path of, well, let me find out about this IFS, right? Let me learn about what this looks like. And so I started ordering books and studying and using pieces of it with my clients, the pieces that felt good and felt like I understood, just talking about parts, right? And noticing how my clients responded to that. It was almost like this freedom of feeling, you mean I don't have to own that all of me feels this way, that just a part of me feels this way, right? And how liberating that was for a lot of my clients. And just understanding too that those parts are rooted in different events or trauma. So I think that part was really attractive to a lot of my clients and freeing. And so then I finally said, okay, I'm ready to take this next step. And that next step was in 2017. And I took a PESI training with Frank Anderson, and it was intro to IFS. And I got to be his assistant for the day. I think I was the first one to sign up, and I was able to be his assistant. And in that training, there were some people getting ready to take the level 1 next. And I had never paid, what are PESI trainings like, $200, $300? I had never paid over that much for a training. And so when people were talking to me about the level 1, I was like, how much is that? I can't, like, what? I don't know what happened. But by the end of that training, I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to see if any scholarships are offered, and I am going to go for it. And it started off as one of the scariest things that I had done, because I just really didn't know what to expect. But something in me said it was time to take this next step. So I enrolled, and this is when, right, we didn't have this huge waiting list, by the way, so I could just get in with no problem. And so then I took my first training in 2018 with Pam. And it was, the first session took my breath away. And I knew after that first session, I said, I can't do this alone. I need an IFS consultant or a therapist or somebody to help me, continue this work and continue the processing. And so I started getting consultation in 2018. And you know what, I haven't shared this, but I'm going to share this with you. I got a consultant in 2018, and my consultant was Pamela Floyd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so, the work that I was able to do with Pamela really helped me to move through this IFS journey. And when I finished my level 1, I wanted to stay in connection with Pam. And so I was just like, Pam, are you doing a consultation group? Like, how can I be in connection with you? Because I felt like she really taught this in a way where my parts got it. And I don't always learn the brain first, right? Like, I feel IFS in my body, right? And then it comes to my head. And so the way she taught it, I could feel it in my system and then get the concepts in my head. And I was just like, tell me where you're going next. I need you in my life. And so Pam later evolved into a mentor, and Tam continues to be my mentor and friend. After that level 1, I did a level 2 in Bali, right? I was showing all the way out. I went to Bali, and, later down the line, I did my level 3 with Dick. And, like, the incentive, again, for being in this space is just all of the deep work that I have done with my own parts. It's like, not only am I learning, to be with clients and be with other people, like, I'm doing some deep ongoing work with my parts. And it's really helped me to show up.
Yeah.
Show up fully,
Can you say more
Yeah.
about that? Can you say some of how, like, some of the biggest shifts that you've noticed in yourself since doing this work personally?
Yeah. Just notice even being here with you, right? Every part of me wants to hide all the time. I don't do social media lives. Like, I don't want people to see me talking or doing anything in front of people, right? Like, I just want to be in my little space, connecting with a small group of people. And I think part of that is the introvert in me, right? But what I've learned is, like, there are parts of me and experiences that I've had that have made me scared of rejection, right? Scared of being judged, scared of not being enough, scared of not being enough in comparison to just all of those things, right? All of those parts. And all of those parts have worked so diligently for me not to feel those things. And in the process have really kept me in that corner, right? Like, their way of me not feeling those things is saying, well, just don't get in front of people. Don't be seen, right? Stay small, stay quiet, and you don't have to worry about feeling any of that. And so the more I've done the work to connect with those parts, to update them, to understand them, and for them to feel me, like they've given me so much space in my body. And it's almost like they've moved to the side, they've softened, and then like it's like the real crystal is coming through. Like the crystal who I'm supposed to be continues like to walk through what those parts were originally guarding, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
and that's what I mean when I say more of myself, because all of these parts have been there for so long. And the more work I do with them, the more work I do of connecting with them, the more space they give me just to kind of walk in to some of these spaces that I never ever thought I would be able to walk in.
Mm.
Yeah. It helps me be seen, and it helps me not to be as afraid. I'll say as afraid of being seen. I just feel like my parts know that I got them, right? They feel held by me. And we have this agreement that who I am is enough, right? Like how I talk, how I express myself, right? Like that is enough. Yeah. And it's like you can't show up like anybody else but you. Like that's my agreement with my parts, right? Like you have to show up exactly like who you are. And that might mean making some mistakes. Because I have parts that are really connected to perfection, right? And so my parts have to be like, no, it's okay to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like my parts trust me more, and being connected to the community has really helped me be connected to the work of me as well. Yeah.
And for how long were you practicing therapy or practicing as a therapist before you started with IFS?
Yeah, I've been practicing probably since 2006. I've been a licensed clinical social worker since 2006, and in that I've done school social work, I've done foster care, but I opened up my practice probably about 8 years ago. So I've been in
Yeah.
private practice for 8 years. Yeah, but I've done a lot of counseling, in the totality of being licensed.
Yeah. And how has your practice shifted since I'm hearing how IFS has shifted you
Yeah.
personally, and how has it shifted your practice?
Yeah, I think for the folks who want to go along with me on the ride, right? I've seen clients trust their own systems more, right? I've seen clients move from looking to me to really being able to look inside or go inside and really trust what their system and the wisdom that their system is sharing with them, right? Really trust that what you hear, what you feel, it's real. It's not imagined, right? It's real. And we can pause and tune into that. We can pause and listen to that. We can pause and journal about that. But our bodies have wisdom, right? And so I feel like my clients are beginning to trust that wisdom a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
powerful.
yeah. And I've shifted from doing more therapy to just consultation, because I'm in a space where I'm just enjoying talking about IFS and teaching it. And so I'm moving away from therapy and mentoring other therapists so they can kind of take the reins with doing the therapy, and I can do more trainings and more consultation. So that feels good too.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And, something else that I appreciate about the IFS community is how it seems that they're being very proactive and including more of the global majority in what has been a very white, middle class, heterosexual male model. And I know that you're one of the first Black women to become an assistant trainer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering what that process has been like to be one of the first. And I'm sure there's positives and negatives to that. I don't want to
Yeah.
assume, but
I don't even, Sarah, I don't even think that's all settled in. Like, I feel like I'm here, and like there are big parts of that feel really unreal to me. There are parts that maybe feel some sadness that, in 2022 that I'm among first, you know.
yeah.
And there's some excitement about what's been happening to kind of prepare the table for that. Yeah, I think I'm still sitting with being in this space and all of what that means. Yeah. So I don't think I've totally taken it in.
Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah,
And maybe like your sabbatical this summer will help with that, just to have the more
absolutely.
space to digest,
Absolutely.
process, be with.
Yeah, yeah. I feel incredibly grateful. Again, I think I went through this year of saying yes to all opportunities, like talking to my parts and saying, okay, we're going to take advantage of all opportunities. And they led me here to a place that I never thought I would be. And so just sitting here with, okay, like you're arriving in this space, and now what, right? Like, how do you want to use this space, right, to serve, to heal, and to bring others, right? To bring others who look like me, who talk like me, how do you want to bring others into this space? That's really, really important to me, because I feel like I belong and I can do it because I saw another Black woman, right, doing this. I was able to practice under Tamala as she did her ATM, and as she was an AT, and I was able to be in different spaces, seeing another Black woman do it. And so I I want to be that for other people as well. Not that I want to have all that pressure on my shoulders, right? I don't see that as pressure, but I do want to bring other people into the space that look like me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
love
I
to
just,
see that too.
yeah, those perspectives, because I think those perspectives, that wisdom, you know, I think it's important. I think it's important. There's a lot of folks who have a lot to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you want to bring more of those who are more like you into the space? Do you have a sense of that, or does it feel kind of vague right now?
No, I have some sense of that. One big thing for me is consultation, right? Through consultation, because in consultation, I was able to work with my own parts that didn't feel like they belong. Like, I was able to work with my own parts to give me space to be in this space, So providing leadership through consultation and mentorship, inviting, other people to PA and staff with me, serve with me. Those are the two biggest things I can think of right now, mentoring, consultation, and definitely bringing some people on these teams to, to create that diversity that's so needed in this space. Yeah. So those are the things that come to mind.
And are you actively assisting trainings right now?
So my trainings start in September.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the big trainings that I have right now is in November. I'll be training, serving as assistant trainer for Frank Anderson. And I was away this weekend, and when I was away, I was in Mexico this past weekend, and when I came back, the next day that training was released. And everything in my parts are like, oh shit, this is real. It's like, this is real, it's really happening. And I think my parts are just really overwhelmed for a moment. But after getting a chance to like just talk with Frank, like he said something that was just really it just really touched my heart. And he said, I want you to know I have your back. I want you to know you're not doing this alone. And I could have just laid out in the floor and cried because that I think there were parts of me that were thinking, you have to run this training. You have to be strong. Frank is going to come in and do his thing, but you have to make sure you have everything together. And so hearing that from him just really, I just felt a lot of love and compassion in my heart for him in that moment. And my parts were able just to take a deep breath and say, okay, right? Like, you don't have to hold this by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So that's a big training that I'm coming up on.
Well, congratulations. And for listeners who don't know who Frank Anderson is, he is just a senior lead trainer with IFS, and he's done a lot of groundbreaking work with IFS and trauma and neuroscience. And in the past year, he published a really wonderful book called Transcending Trauma that looks at healing trauma from an IFS perspective. So sounds like a great training.
Yeah. I've taken that training like twice because I love it so much. So yeah. Wish me luck, y'all.
Sounds like you're gonna do just fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
And I know that like Tamala Floyd has brought some shifts, and Tamala was the first Black woman to be an assistant trainer with IFS. Is that right?
And now co-lead.
And now she's a co-lead.
And
Great.
now she's a co-lead. Yeah.
And she was your mentor, and you did consultation with her. And also for listeners, again, consultation is when you work with an IFS therapist or practitioner who has a level of being able to offer consultation. They need to be certified, and they work with you as a practitioner or a therapist just to advise you on your clients and things that come up for you as you're sharing the work with others, just in case there's any questions about that.
Yeah.
So Tamala has brought some shifts to legacy burdens in IFS. And I'm wondering if you want to speak about what legacy burdens are and just what those shifts have been. And then if there's anything that you feel like a particular area that you feel like really passionate about within the model.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest pieces that Tamala has added to legacy and cultural burdens, which are really, thoughts, beliefs, and ideas that are picked up from generation through generation or passed down through generations, that we hold in our body, and how some of that doesn't belong to us. There might be pieces of that belong to us, and there may be pieces of that don't belong to us, right? That have just been passed down, and we're holding it in our body, and we're acting out of that lens as well. And so a big piece that Tamala has brought that I really have been just kind of marveling at and also have experienced a lot of healing from is just ancestral reverence, and really focusing on cultural and legacy burdens for Black people and what that looks like and what that means and how we can use the wisdom of the ancestors. Like, we don't tell the ancestors what to do, right? The ancestors can give us guidance and wisdom on what to do with these burdens that we hold. And the biggest, what I love about that is, like, when we're unburdening these legacy burdens, we pass it through the ancestral line, right? So, like, I really see it as an opportunity for our ancestors to also unburden, right? And at the end of that line, the ancestors can pass up the gifts. So the healing is not only for me, right? But the healing can be, for our ancestors. The healing can be, for the lineage, in front of me as well, my children and my children's children. And so watching that work and watching some of those burdens that are shared individually and also collectively, like being in a space like Black Therapists Rock, where you have lots of Black therapists who are really familiar with certain cultural legacy burdens. And so seeing one demo done and getting healing, right? Like multiple people getting healing, I think Dick calls it a collective unburdening, right? Just from seeing a demo, because we can all relate. I can see someone and say, oh, I know that cultural legacy burden, that's in my family too. So just experiencing that deep level of healing has just been amazing. As for me, I really enjoy cultural and legacy burdens, but what I've really been feeling lately, and just have a lot of appreciation for Pam for just even sharing this with me, is I have a lot of appreciation for just embodying the model right now, right? So funny story, I came to Pam one day, I was like, everybody has like this certain piece of IFS that feels really good for them. And I just started naming off all of the people and all of their little, their little pieces they've carved out that they have focused on. And I'm like, I don't need anything, I like it all. And she said to me, she was like, Crystal, like, you really just embody this model. I see you working this model. I see you living this model. And when she said that, my parts were like, yeah, like that's what they do, but it didn't feel like enough. And so like, I've really been sitting with that and just kind of leaning into what does it mean to like really like live this model, like in my body, like I feel it. And that being enough right now, maybe down the road, there might be a focus in another area, but right now that feels so good. That feels like, okay, Crystal, like you don't have to do anything extra. Like the way you feel this model and how you want to share it with other people from that heart space feels like just enough. It feels like just enough. Yeah.
And that's the essence of it all. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Is being
Yeah.
able to live the model, live from that heart-centered place, that led by inspiration rather than fear.
Yeah. And in addition to that, when I say live the model, like for me, that just means listening to my body, but like listening to the wisdom of my body. I keep saying that because I just like this model, I've always known that, but this model has given me language and a space to really just be in that. And so that's what I mean when I say live the model. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be walking through life self-led all the time, because I'm not. Right? Sometimes I need my parts to come in and take over, but just the beauty in recognizing that, right? That right now a part is here. I'm not being self-led, like to know myself in that way. That's what I mean by, living the model, right?
Yeah.
Or just feeling this in my body. So yeah, that feels good right now. And I'm a student of this model, so I'm still learning too. I'm always learning in this model. Yeah.
It's one of the beautiful things about it. Just there's no end.
There isn't. I'm definitely a student.
You talk about this listening to your body, and that's a big thing that I teach as well, and that those who are listening to this or watching this will really resonate with. And I'm wondering if you would be open to like leading us through little meditation or just way to connect with these parts in our bodies.
So I'll say this. I have a passage from a book that really speaks to me, that was shared to me by a friend. And it's a passage by Rupi Kaur from the book Homebody. And a friend, her name is Natalie, she shared it in a space, and it just spoke to me so deeply. And so if it's okay, I would just like to share that with you.
That'd be great.
It was during a session of just unearthing and working with a lot of parts, and just coming to this space of really like seeing who we are, once we do that work with our parts, like who we are, more of ourselves. And so I'd like to share it with you.
Please do.
Yeah. Today I saw myself for the first time when I dusted off the mirror of my mind, and the person looking back took my breath away. Who was this beautiful beastling, this extra celestial earthling? I touched my face, and my reflection touched the person of my dreams. All their gorgeous smirking back at me, my knees surrendered to the earth as I wept and sighed at how I'd gone my whole life being myself, but not seeing myself. Spent decades living inside my body, never left it once, yet managed to miss all its miracles. Isn't it funny how you can occupy a space without being in touch with it? How it took so long for me to open the eyes of my eyes, embrace the heart of my heart, kiss the soles of my swollen feet, and hear them whisper, "Thank you, thank you, thank you for noticing."
Mm, I love that.
It always makes me cry too,
I can
which
see
doesn't,
why.
which doesn't take much.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So I know that you've shared that you're going on sabbatical. You've been listening to that voice of spirit and taking this leap for yourself, this time for yourself, and then stepping into being an assistant trainer on the other side of that.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what's your current growing edge? And so I can imagine that those two things are related to that, but I just love to hear from you.
That is my growing edge. You know, I just feel like my growing edge. I don't totally know the answer to that question. I just know that I want to do what I've always done, and that is to stay connected to this model, to stay connected to people in this model, and to stay connected to my teachers in this model. That feels really good for me because, again, being a student of this model, if I'm staying connected, then I'm always learning, you know? I don't want to feel like I've arrived. I just want to keep learning about my own system. I want to continue learning about my own system, and I want to support others in learning about their system. And so I think if I just continue to do that, those growing edges, whatever they are, and there are some, right? But I think they will continue just to kind of unfold, you know? Yeah. And I also think my confidence will begin to increase, right? As I continue just to keep those people close to me as well and continue to do stuff that scares the hell out of me.
So important. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is really acknowledging the importance of support and community as we do that.
Community is so important to me. Like I always stress community. Like everything to me happens in community. Yeah, love happens in community, understanding, growth, you know, everything happens in community. Yeah.
Krista, you've shared so much with us today, and there's nothing more to add. That's wonderful, but I wanted just to see if there's any final words that you wanted to share or to leave us with.
Yeah, I do want to say that I'm really grateful just to be in this space with you, and thanking you for the invitation. Yeah, and I think whoever's listening, just the importance of developing community and just staying connected. You know, I can't. I wish like there's parts of me that's like, oh, you should think of something profound to say. You know, um,
Basics are profound.
you know, just
The
keep
reminders.
learning, right? Keep learning, keep growing, and know that you belong here, right? You belong. You're enough. Like we don't need another, Chris is amazing, right? But we don't need another Chris. Dick is amazing, but we don't need another Dick. We need you. Like there's something specific and special about you that's needed in this space. And so use that and show all the way up. Show all the way up because you're needed and you're valued. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And how can listeners find out more about you or contact you?
Yeah, I was just saying how I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Like one season I go hard and then I'm just like I'm tired of social media and I don't want to do it anymore. So a consistent way to get in contact with me is through my website. And that's www.lifesourcecounselingcenter.com. Lifesourcecounselingcenter.com. Yeah. And hit me up. I'd love to hear from you.
Great. And we'll put that link in the show notes as well.
Yeah. I am on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm not consistent with those things. They feel like work to me.
Yeah,
When it begins to feel like work, I have to step back from it and reassess,
I hear you.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your joy, your wisdom. And I'm just really excited for you with the sabbatical and all the different flavors that you're including with that. And just look forward to, if our paths cross afterwards, just hearing how it was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah.